Greetings, everyone. I hope you are fine. I hope you are doing well. And I will appreciate if you can just smash that subscribe button, that like button, like never before. You know, sometimes in life, you might find yourself in a situation whereby you are trying to connect the dots, but it seems as if these dots are not connecting. Sometimes you want to solve this puzzle, but it seems as if it's difficult to impossible to solve the puzzle. But I just want us to hear what President Mbeki had to say, because I believe that this short clip of President Mbeki will help us to connect the dots or to solve the puzzle.
I'm sure all of you, again, educated people, there's quite a lot of discussion in the media about what is meant by the National Democratic Revolution. And a lot of opinion here that this is a program that was decided by Lenin in Russia many years ago. It's a communist program and it's stage one towards socialism. You find a lot of that discussion. Yeah. And that's part of the thinking that informed the counter-revolution. But in this ANC, what is this ANC? This ANC is nothing but a proxy of Moscow. It's a communist front. What it wants to do with South Africa is to reproduce that socialism, following the stage one of the National Democratic Revolution. So we must defeat it by all means. I'm talking about the thinking, the ideology between this counter-revolutionary intervention. So what I'm saying, colleagues, in the end, in order to understand this age number 2, according to Dr. Endres, where you then have all of these negatives, none of them are accidental. You cannot have an ANC government performing as it did during age number 1, and suddenly, in age 2, it behaves in the opposite direction. There's been a change somewhere. And that change includes change in the leadership of the ANC. So, when we're talking about, therefore, what is to be done? Temsile said, this ANC breakaways, coalition politics, and all of what do we do about all of that? I'm saying in that context of what's been happening in the country, how do we understand the breakaways? Now just take the MK party. You can't say I remain a member of the ANC, but I support a party which is going to campaign to defeat the ANC. That doesn't make sense. One of those two things is wrong. So in terms of these breakaways from the ANC, take that breakaway. You can understand it. It is led by the same people who tried to destroy SARS. This is exactly the same people. So you can understand who they are. Or even take the youth. Take the Youth League of the ANC. Got affected by all of this. At some point, you have an ANC Youth League, which has got its own political platform. separate, different from the political platform of the ANC. It can't be ANC Youth League, it must be somebody else's youth league. What happened? Suddenly you've got, the very popular thing. I think even my comrade president here referred to about land. Yeah. There's established ANC policy, which is in the Freedom Charter. If you come to me to say, now let's still do something about the land, I'd say, bear in mind what we've said in that Freedom Charter for many decades. The land shall be shared among those who work it. That is a very well thought out position, strategic position with regard to solving a number of issues here. The national question, the land question, how do we handle it? No, somebody pops up. No. Let's take the land and give it to our people. So I say, I belong to the ANC. Who, according to the ANC in South Africa, is not our people? There's nobody but our people. That's ANC policy. Somebody else's policy might be very different. But that's why the ANC says this land shall be shared among those who work it. Black and white and whoever they are. But
I would like to begin by saying some of you might have probably witnessed what I'm going to talk about. I just want to make a simple example. In some communities around South Africa, there are people sometimes who may organize marches to say, you know what? We are fighting for service delivery. We are fighting for poverty. We are fighting for all what we are going through. Then as a result, the people of that community might say, you know what? We want to join the march as well because we are also going through the same thing. We are also suffering. But when in reality, those leaders of that particular march are actually focusing on tenders, are actually focusing on contracts. That is why in most cases, after the end of that march, you might find them like sitting in certain offices. You might find them like getting contracts. You might find them now focusing on other things because now they've already gotten what they were looking for. Probably some of you have witnessed it. There are people who use the community for their own gain. They are like, you know what? We want these tenders. We want these contracts. But we need the support of the community. Then they will go and lie to the community and say, you know what? We are fighting for water. We are fighting for 1, 2, 3. When in reality, they are just fighting for their own stomachs. So as a result, this thing will cause a division amongst the members of the community. Because now they will see that those guys who were the organizers of the march are now sitting in these offices. They're enjoying these contracts. They're enjoying everything. Then you will see the split among their community members. Same applies to African National Congress. In other words, they have to be clear. In other words, they should have been clear in the 1960s, in the 1950s, that poor people forget about the land, forget about 1, 2, 3. These are our policies. Because most of the people who are voting for African National Congress are not politically educated. Our grandmothers, our grandfathers have been taken advantage of because they don't know all these things. They don't know what is socialism. They don't know what is capitalism because these guys are using big English like sabotage and etc. And this type of a language ends up confusing our grandmothers and our grandfathers because they don't understand what is going on. So ANC was not clear from the beginning. That is why I'm like, President Mbeki here is correct. He's representing the policies of ANC. But the mistake that these leaders are making is that they are not communicating their policies very well. In other words, they are not explaining their policies with clarity to the people so that people can understand, okay, in this family, I'm not welcomed. So the reason there's a split amongst the members of ANC is because there are those who are like, but in our minds, we are fighting for people. We are fighting for freedom. We are fighting for land. But now they start realizing that, okay, it's like there's a confusion here. In other words, sometimes they end up thinking that these people are not representing them accordingly, when in reality, these people are cheating them. How do they cheat them? They cheat them by not communicating the message very well. Because you cannot go to a family or join a certain family or become part of a certain family that doesn't want you, that doesn't represent you, that doesn't care about your needs. But it's a problem when they won't communicate the message to you clearly to say, you know what, you're not welcomed in this house. So sometimes you will realize by the decisions that they make that, no, it seems as if now I'm not welcome in this house. But at that point, sometimes you might not read the message very well. So you might start fighting against each other in the very same family. When in reality, you just have to pack your bags and leave. You have to just understand the message and interpret the message very well and pack your bags and leave. But now, there's a problem when people are not communicating the message clearly. Why are they not communicating the message clearly? It's because they are being manipulative. So we don't care about the policies of ANC. You just have to make it clear to the people that if you are poor, if you are like this, if you need land, you are not for us. We have different policies, because most of the people who vote for ANC are those people who are poor. That's a problem. That's a problem. And most of the people who are voting for ANC are not politically educated. That is why ANC is taking advantage of those people. Same applies to someone who is like, I'm looking for tenders. But in order for me to get these tenders and these contracts, I have to use the community. I have to act as if I'm fighting for their needs, when in reality, I don't even care about their needs. This is what is happening in many communities. So the reason people keep on giving ANC a chance is because the message was not communicated clearly to them. These policies were not clarified accordingly, or were not clarified very well, so that they can understand that ANC is not representing them. But instead of like communicating this message clearly, they preach about inclusivity, they preach about love, they preach about all these things. But when you look deep into what is happening in our communities, our people are not included in the community. These people are preaching inclusivity, but when it comes to economy, you are excluded. Look what is happening in Alexandra. One of the councillors of EFF by the name of Mushem Patel was assassinated because he was trying by all means to say we have to be included as well. But ANC is preaching this thing of inclusivity when in reality is not working. If you are living in Alexandra right now, you can see that you are not included. If you are living in Sharpeville, you can tell that you are not included. If you're living in Winnie Mandela, Zone 6, Zone 7, and so forth and so forth, you can tell that economically you are not included. So President Mbeki here is speaking on his behalf, on the behalf of ANC, and on behalf of other people. So we should not be against those people. We should not fight against those people. But instead, you have to pack your bags and leave. The most important thing is to understand the message, to say, are these people representing me or not? And if you have discovered that these people are not representing you, you have to pack your bags and leave, because economically we are not included. I cannot even go to Eastern Cape because they know very well that they are not included. But the most important thing is to make them understand the message. If ANC is failing to break down these policies, we have to do so that people can see that indeed ANC is not representing them. People of Kwakwa, Puteri, people of Harrismith are excluded. People in Free State, Limpopo, they are not included in the economy. In other words, they are excluded. You can go to KZN. Most of the areas in KZN, villages in KZN, are also excluded when it comes to economy. Then you hear your leader speaking like this. Then you hear your leader speaking like this. So in other words, we have to wake up and say, okay, these people in this family, they are talking about inclusivity, but then they exclude us. If they exclude us, we have to pack our bags and leave, because there's no need for you to be in a family that doesn't want you. So that is why you have to leave. So the most important thing, that there's no need for you to be patient. There's no need to say, let me persevere. You have to read the message and interpret the message. And if you feel like you are being excluded, you just pack your bags and leave. There's no need for us to march against ANC. There's no need for us to do all these things against ANC. It's just to interpret the message. As I've said in my previous video, or in part 1 of this video, that you cannot fight against ANC from within and win. Why? Because they have their own policies. But why does this infighting? President Mbeki should not run away from this. There's an infighting because the message was not communicated clearly. That's why everybody wanted to become the members of the ANC. But if the message would have been communicated clearly, many people would have said, okay, in other words, in this family, my needs will not be taken care of. So what should I do? I have to find another family. I have to find another home. So it was unfortunate that PAC didn't have backup, didn't have funds, and they started fighting against each other, and so forth and so forth. Then as a result, then ANC gained power and popularity. But the reason there's a split amongst ANC, you have to understand it. The message was not communicated very clearly. Even when it comes to people like Panyaza Lusufi, the message was not communicated clearly, because I'm telling you, there are members of ANC who are like, what is it that President Mbeki is talking about now? Why? Because the message was not communicated very clearly. But if you can study, as I always say, the politics of the 1950s, the 1960s, this is where ANC was compromised. And the other thing that I just want to talk about is the Freedom Charter. The Freedom Charter was drafted in 1955, if I'm not mistaken. The Freedom Charter was drafted in 1955. So when the land was taken from the people, the land was taken from people way before 1955. So that is why that Freedom Charter, according to me, becomes null and void. But it belongs to African National Congress. But to me, that Freedom Charter, it becomes null and void. Why? Because the people whom the land was taken from were not included in that particular Freedom Charter. But the ideas that were implemented in the Freedom Charter are the ideas of European education, Western education. Because most of the leaders of ANC got their education from West or from Europe. If you can check their history, if you can check their profiles. So that is why they came with this thing of inclusivity, this thing of like this Freedom Charter 1955. The land was not taken from ANC. This is what you need to understand. That is why I'm like, don't march against ANC. Don't worry about ANC. These are the policies of ANC, and you should never give up. The land was taken way before 1955, and those people were not included. Their suggestions were not included, were not engaged in that Freedom Charter. So this is what we need to be careful of, because the land was taken from our people. The land was taken from the nation. So according to ANC, our people is everybody, regardless of your nationality. Go and and study that Freedom Charter. Regardless of whatever, you are our people. But the land was not taken from that kind of people that is described by the ANC. The land was taken from black people. The land was taken from Khoisans. The land was taken from black people, the indigenous people of Africa, the indigenous people of South Africa. And first of all, we have to ask ourselves, who created South Africa? Who created the Republic of South Africa? The Republic of South Africa is the idea of people like King Leopold II and many others. They divided Africa like nobody's business. That is why we have South Africa. That is why we have all these other countries, and that is why if you go deep, then you'll discover that colonialism is still dominating. That is why I don't want to participate in this thing of like we have to apologize for what we said about one of the contestants of Miss South Africa, Miss Chidima. I don't want to entertain that, because I don't have to apologize about anything, because right now we are being controlled by the systems of King Leopold II and many other people. Those are the people who created South Africa. Those are the people who created Rhodesia. These are the people who created Namibia. These are the people who created everything, and we still want to live by their ideas. We still want to live by their ideas. So the land was taken from the Africans. That's the most important. The land was taken from the Africans. So according to ANC, our people represent something else. But according to us, when we say the land should go to our people, we're talking about the people of Alexander. We're talking about the people of Soweto. We're talking about the people of Sharpeville. We're talking about the people of KZN, Ulundi, Hluhluwe, and many other areas. We are talking about the people in Free State, Limpopo. We are talking about those people who are struggling and who are not included in the community, who are Africans. We are talking about those people when we say our people. When you say our people don't have water, our people don't have land, our people don't, we are referring to those people. We are referring to those people. But now, ANC is completely different. But we are not against them. Let them enjoy inclusivity, because they are enjoying. Everything is good. These people are in a comfort zone. These people are enjoying. So let's not be against them. Let's not insult them. If you're poor, you're struggling, you are earning 350, you might be retrenched, you keep on applying, you're among 45% of young people who are not working, you are not included in the economy. You're not included in an economy. As long as you are running a small business and these councillors and these mayors and these leaders, they tell you that it's good to run that small business forever, you are not included in their economy. So you cannot be used to preach this gospel or to promote this gospel of inclusivity and etc. Where is justice? And again, I heard President Begi here talking about that they were afraid that in 1994 people were going to die, people were going to fight against each other because there were now others. What is justice? What is justice? You cannot tell me that this woman is being abused by this person and you are afraid to arrest this person because you feel like there's going to be a war. What is justice? If you put this whole thing, this freedom charter thing, and all these policies of ANC, and you put them on a scale of justice, everything fails. Everything fails. The most important thing is justice. In other words, they are okay if 80%, 90% of South Africans are living in poverty. They are okay. They are happy. That is why this thing of their strategic position is to exclude certain people, but yet they preach inclusivity. In other words, they are like a pastor who keeps on preaching about love. But when your child is sick, they only say, let's pray, let's pray, let's pray. But when the child of the pastor is sick, they are like, let's donate so that we can take this child to Mediclinic or to hospital. This is what is happening. Other people are being used. I just want to say, remember one thing. President Begi here was representing ANC and some people who are working, some people who are getting tenders, some people who have jobs, some people who are enjoying life. He was actually representing those people. And if you feel like you're not being represented here, you just need to pack your bags and leave. Don't fight anyone.